Everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Owen talks about sports and movies. Thank you for checking out today's video. I always appreciate the support. Let's get into it. So today we're going to have the Mandalorian Season 3 review. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts over the whole season, what I thought about the end, kind of what the show is setting up and all of that. But make sure you guys leave your thoughts down in the comments below. What did you think of the season? How do you think it compares to seasons past, etc.? I'm issuing a spoiler alert, so if you haven't finished the season all the way through completion, first off, I encourage it. I really, really enjoyed this season. And so if you haven't watched this, save this and come back whenever you're done. But with further ado, we're going to hop into it. So I've been really confused about the dislike and disdain for this season. For the most part, the discourse around season 3 has been not overly positive. Hold on, I need some coffee. It's early in the morning. And I've been really confused by that. I think it's just because Star Wars fans are really, really hard to please. I think just in general. Very much so. And I'm not saying that the season is perfect by any means. No, God, no. And I think, unfortunately, what this show is having to do is they are kind of using this, post Return of the Jedi, pre Force Awakens era show. So this show, Ahsoka. I think the movie that Dave Filoni is set to direct, is set in this time period. They're kind of using this to kind of make up for some of maybe the interesting decisions that they made in the sequel trilogy, as far as cloning and the rise of the First Order and stuff like that. And honestly, I think that's really smart. These shows are well liked by people, and so I think some of the narrative decisions that they're having to make are because of that. But overall, I really, really liked the season. I thought it was probably the most focused season by far out of any of the three. People's main complaints about the show is that it's a side quest, really, but this season's extremely focused. It's about, it gradually becomes about the retaking of Mandalore. That's kind of been the premise since the jump, and reuniting Mandalore. And yes, there was like the Imperial remnants kind of setting up. That was definitely a plot line. But I mean, in the other seasons, it's like every episode was a side quest, or there was a cameo centered, or there was a episode centered around a cameo, or around a cameo. Especially in season 2. There was the whole episode with Ahsoka. There was the whole episode with Boba Fett. And like stuff like that. So I feel like this season has been the most focused narratively out of all three of them. And so I'm not really seeing the complaints there. Now I think your enjoyment of this season of this season and this show going forward will be related to, how much do you care about non-Mando and Grogu stuff? Like how much do you care about Bo-Katan and the retaking of Mandalore? How much do you care about the Imperial remnants recreating the First Order and setting up for Thrawn and all that? If you don't care about that stuff, I could see where you're getting a little dissatisfied with the show. Because the show definitely over time has gradually become less and less about Grogu and Din. So I see that. But if you are interested in all the other things, I'm not really seeing where your issue is with the show. Sure, I'll admit the episodes that were like mainly focused on like Dr. Pershing and I can't remember her name, but the other woman that was on Maf Gideon's ship that serves as a spy for Moff now. Those episodes were a little boring. I won't lie. But everything with Din and Bo and Grogu was awesome. I loved it. I think Bo-Katan is the star of the season. She really, I didn't really particularly like Bo before this season, but now I really enjoy her character. I think, through all the times with the Clone Wars and Rebels, and now this show, she's turned into kind of the Mandalorian chosen one. Um, and I think she excels in that role. And I love getting to spend time with her, and I love getting to spend time with her and Dan as they form this very close just friendship. Honestly, I saw people shipping them, and I'm like, I'm not seeing it. Like I'm just not seeing it. They're just super tight, close friends, and I love that. And I think they've got a very strong friendship that carries them and allows this show to function in the way that it does. And I think, as usual, Din and Grogu's relationship is just great. It's just so cute. Like when he adopts him officially at the end of the show, at the end of the finale, heartwarming. Just so full of pure love. And I think it's really, the found family, disgruntled dad adopts a child trope. I eat it up. It's excellent. It's just so good. And there's a reason that people use it, because it works over and over and over again. Um, and I just loved the way that the show really kind of expanded on all of, all Mandalorian related content, not just Din, not just Bo, but I mean, reuniting, I mean, taking back Mandalore. That's something that's been trying to go on since, I don't know, like the since like the Empire took over. That's very substantial. I mean, that's something huge that just happened in this show. A united Mandalore. Just the fact that Mandalore is united, that hasn't happened since, I don't know. I don't know what point they came in, because it wasn't in the Clone Wars, because there was Death Watch and the Night Owls, and they were split already. Um, I mean, hell, Bo was having a civil war with her own sister, uh, teen during the Clone War. So it's like something huge happened in the show. Everyone's like, "Oh, nothing really happened this season." That's not true. Reuniting Mandalore, taking back the planet, and reuniting Mandalore, having one united Mandalore banner, insanity. And Bo is the leader. She's the leader that they have chosen without the dark saber. They are loosening on their myths and traditions, and I think it's going to allow them to go forward. That's huge. Like the fact that she lost the dark saber objectively, she lost it. It's gone. It's literally gone forever. Moff Gideon crushed the crap out of it, and we'll get to him in a second. But I think that's huge. I mean, the Mandalorians have been such a huge part of a lot of really important Star Wars media, and people are just kind of sweeping it under the rug because they didn't get a Luke cameo or something like that, which is just stupid. That's ginormous. And it's just so cool to see all the Mandalorians, Mando's Mandalorians and Bo's Mandalorians and the other ones that have been living on Mandalore and have grown farms in those surface caves. I mean, that's insanity. I love getting to know the world of Mandalore, really learning the story of the Purge, and Bo owning up to that. Insane. Insane. So good and so compelling. I didn't understand what people didn't find interesting about that. I loved it. I freaking loved it. So I'm not really seeing why people didn't like the show for that reason. Let's talk about Moff Gideon. I think it's definitely fair to criticize that he was shoehorned in the last, was it, what, 2.5 episodes? Two? I can't remember if he came in episode 6 or not, if he has an appearance or not. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. If you want to make that complaint. But it's not like, but we all know Moss been pulling the strings. But I mean, he had been, but we knew he had escaped like in the midway of the episode. Whenever the Republic guy goes and discovers the ship that Moff had got broken out of, like we know that, like we knew that. It's not like he just like all of a sudden popped up at the last 40 seconds of episode 6. That's not true. That's not what happened. We know that's not what happened. I mean, we know someone in the Empire is pulling the strings of the pirates to attack Navarro. Like Moff's been in the season pretty much the whole time. We know this. We're very aware of this. If you're paying attention, you got to listen. You got to think critically. But Moff's great. Moff's been great the entire time. Um, as the overarching antagonist of the show, he's been great. Giancarlo Esposito is just an absolute great actor. Um, just kind of his calmness and his ability to always be a step ahead and to always be prepared. Um, is incredible. Is incredible, and it was so satisfying. The final fight scene between when Bo did and Grogu all teamed up to beat him, so satisfying because Moff was busting them bad. He was whooping them individually. He crushed the Darksaber. I definitely think his Mandalorian suit's got some like strength enhancements, but that's not important. It was so satisfying to see, you know, the three of them who Moff has caused so much trouble for. I mean, Moff basically forced Bo to like surrender her entire life, her entire existence, her entire reputation. I mean, basically ruined her life. And Moff's been on has been on Din and Grogu's case from the jump. So it's so satisfying to see them finally beat him and use all their strength and all of their abilities to beat him. It's wonderful. It's so satisfying. As far as the cloning stuff, see, this is what I was talking about earlier. Whenever they're trying to kind of make sense of, Snoke and Palpatine just being. I think we can all agree. I don't know if this is confirmed in canon or not. I'm 95% sure that Snoke is like a failed clone of Palpatine that like could function though, just not quite Palpatine than what they were trying to clone Palpatine. And we see that. We see that Dr. Pershing and Moff are trying to make clones who can use the Force. I mean, that's what Moff talks about. He had isolated the ability to use the Force. Basically, I don't know how functional or how true that was, but like that's what he was claiming. And so now they're planting the seeds for everything to all wrap up together. I wish the shows didn't necessarily have to do that. I think it would have been really cool if these shows would have came out before the sequel trilogy, and then they could have used these shows as a landing pad for that, but that's neither here nor there. And so, you can see the seeds of the First Order coming back, and Snoke and Palpatine at least being more reasonable. Yes, I hate the fact that they brought Palpatine back. I actually thought it was really bold for them to kill Snoke, but maybe we'll get to that in a second, or maybe in a later video. But I think Moss was really cool. He was a great villain for all 3 seasons of the show. I have no complaints. All flowers for Maf Gideon. He's wonderful. One of the best Star Wars villains for sure. Some really cool moments. See, everyone's talking about, there wasn't that, nothing really happened. That's not true. That's not true. Now, if you weren't necessarily a fan, okay, here's the other thing. I saw so many people go after that Jack Black and Lizzo episode. Why? It's fun. It's funny. Okay, like it's not that serious. These shows are not that serious. They were gonna write those 2 characters the same. It was fun seeing Jack Black and Lizzo. I don't know who doesn't like Jack Black. That's blasphemy to me. And I think if they would have picked any other singer, they other than Lizzo, people just don't like her for really odd reasons. I mean, I'm not a fan of her music, but I don't just like hate her just out of pure spite, which I don't understand. I know a lot of people do that, but it doesn't make sense. But I mean, so like, I could see if someone maybe didn't like that. I don't see it like that, but so much cool. I mean, another bone crushing Order 66 scene. I mean, dear God, every single Order 66 scene is just brutal to watch. And I love it. I'm like, give me more. Seeing Ahmad Best come back, kind of get his Star Wars redemption, beautiful work. I loved it. It really made my heart, kind of swell up a little bit. It was wonderful. Grogu using all of his Force abilities, protecting the fire just like Kanan did in Rebels. I mean, a lot of really, really cool stuff happens this season. It's not perfect by any means, but a lot of really cool stuff happens this season, and it was really good. And I think narratively, it's the most focused we've had a season be. So I loved it. I really loved this season. So overall, this season took the show in a very different direction. Instead of focusing on primarily the relationship with Din and Grogu, season 3 really looked to expand on all of Mandalorian related and post Empire canon. Bo-Katan benefits the most from this shift and now serves as one of the most important characters in the universe at the moment. Even if the season didn't quite have the big highs of seasons past, it avoids the lows, mostly, due to its more centered and narrow narrative. Din and Grogu still get to shine, and Maf Gideon served as the continued great villain until the end. Overall, the show expanded the greater world and scope of the Mandalorians while still setting up the next adventure for Mando and Grogu. Rating 9 out of 10. This is the way. So thank you guys for watching today's video. I always appreciate the support. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the fun and check out all the related content. I love you guys, and I appreciate you. Thank you.